Hey guys, Hal DeMarco here, and this is going to be your Sunday video report. My apologies for missing the past couple days. Let me just start off by saying that today's report is brought to you by this wonderful little bottle of chloroseptic spray. What a way to get through the day. And I've got complimentary plays coming up in just a moment on your early wildcard game between Seattle and Minnesota, and a late afternoon college basketball tilt in the Atlantic 10 between VCU and St. Louis. Let me just say, from a gambling perspective, a handicapping perspective, from a fan perspective, I don't ever remember two more interesting wildcard games to kick off the postseason than I saw yesterday. I mean, in the first game, you saw in a span of 4 quarters a guy going from being a possible NFL starting quarterback to being forevermore nothing more than a journeyman backup. And of course, I'm speaking of Brian Hoyer, who certainly looked like he was not over those 2 concussions he suffered this season with that 4 interception, 5 turnover performance in the loss to Kansas City. And then the night game, the Steelers-Bengals, my goodness. You saw a coach in Marvin Lewis going from possibly being hailed as a hero, who knows, could have gotten another contract extension, to a guy who probably has to be fired here in the next 24 hours. What a game that Bengals contest against the Steelers last night was. You know, I was so impressed with the play calling of Todd Haley, the Pittsburgh offensive coordinator in that game. You had a Cincinnati run defense that was one of the best, one of the stingiest in all the NFL. You had a Pittsburgh Steelers team that was missing its top 2 running backs. But Haley comes out there, run the ball. And so effective, picking up so much yardage. Suddenly you had Cincinnati's defenders playing back on the heels, because they couldn't overplay the run, because they always had to be worried about Ben Roethlisberger. The only what's the word I'm looking for? The only thing that I want to be a little nitpicky about in terms of Haley's play calling, I thought so many times in the first half that they had perfect play action opportunities. 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3. And they went back to the run again. And Roethlisberger, in obvious passing downs, suddenly when it was 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, well, that's when he was feeling the heat of the Cincinnati pass rush. So although I thought in the first half Haley's play calling was 99% brilliance, I think at times their inability to go and just change things up and go for some play action, take some shots, cost them, and ultimately cost you and me, because I had a free play on the Steelers yesterday, the cover in that contest. But listen, the bottom line is this. You know, it's an amazing thing how the culture of sports has changed in the last, 25 years. And I covered it originally as a reporter, and now, just like you, a fan. I don't know what you want to call it, but let's just say everybody thinks they're a badass. Okay, everybody has that attitude. I mean, you just saw it a few weeks ago with the Giants and the Carolina Panthers with Norman and Beckham. And last night, you know, there's no love lost between these 2 teams, okay? But you saw a team absolutely self-destruct last night because their head coach couldn't control them. Listen, Mike Tomlin couldn't control his offensive line coach, okay? He couldn't control most of his players either. But the Bengals imploded last night. You know it as well as I do. But before the implosions, before those 2 ridiculous penalties, which were well-deserved, and listen, they got off scot-free for the one earlier in the game where one of the Cincinnati defenders should have been tossed out as well. Can't remember the guy's name. But who is calling for that running play? I understand. Jeremy Hill's in the backfield. You want to run out the clock. Pittsburgh still has 3 timeouts, but you only got a couple minutes to go. What are you doing? Haven't you ever heard of the miracle of the Meadowlands? My goodness. You know, Herm Edwards of ESPN must be watching that game and going, don't these guys know what happened many years back with Joe Pisarcik and the Giants? So Marvin Lewis was a moron then, but when you couldn't control your team, well, then he's just another soon-to-be unemployed ex-former head coach. Hey, you got a Steelers team that now advances to go on taking the number 1 defense in the NFL, a well-rested defense in Denver. You got a quarterback who may not be able to throw the ball. You got a number 1 receiver who may or may not be over his concussion. You got your top string running back, D'Angelo Williams, who God knows if he's going to be available next week. Then in the other game, you did notice in the Kansas City-Houston contest yesterday that the Chiefs' big playmaker, the wide receiver, Jeremy Maclin, and let's face it, they went out and got him. Andy Reid went and got the guy from the Eagles that he once drafted, went out and got him to give Alex Smith a target. Knee injury yesterday. You know he's had a couple of knee injuries, I think torn ACLs requiring surgery. Who knows what the MRI results are going to show, but oh my goodness, if he can't play, what a shame, because this Kansas City team, they were impressive yesterday because Houston was so pathetic. But with the way the Patriots have been playing, you got to think that Kansas City was going to be able to give them a good game. If Macklin's not in there, I just don't see that happening. Plus, you also realize that the Patriots are getting healthier, and if they get Edelman back and God knows who else, could be a nice, easy game for New England. But hey, we'll talk about that next week. All I know is that yesterday, all the handicappers with the featured plays won their big plays. Brad Wilton won again. Gee, what a surprise. Brad Wilton won again. Well, today he's going for winning day number 10 in a row. Yeah, that's right. Winning day number 10 in a row today for Brad Wilton. Yesterday, he had a raise the bar 150 dime release, and he scored when he was on the Kansas City Chiefs, just about like all the handicappers here at the site, in fact. And you got that winner as the half price play of the day. And I said that he won again because not only is he going for a 10th straight winning day, but listen, $10 bettors have won over $37,000 the past 6 months following his plays. Just the past 3.5 months, they've won over $26,000. Today, 100-dime winner number 15 out of 19. It's your Washington Green Bay side. Remember, he had a 100-dime play last Sunday with the Vikings winning outright at Lambeau, and 100-dime plays or higher in all sports combined. 53-18 roll. Again, you get it for half price simply by using coupon code 100dimes, 100dimes, FYI. Gabriel DuPont has his 100-dime NFL winner number 9 out of 11 on the same side as Brad in this particular game. The other featured play I want to talk about is Chris Jordan. He's going for winning day number 5 in a row. Top-rated 1,000-star wildcard game of the year. It's your early game between Seattle and Minnesota. 1,000-star plays or higher, going back to 2006. So we're almost on a decade by the time next football season rolls around. A decade worth of 1,000-star best bets or higher. $1 bettors, they've won over 90 grand. Not too shabby. Today, he's got a top-rated 1,000-star play again on the Seattle-Minnesota game. Yesterday, he had a 400-star play on the Chiefs-Texans under, which you got for $9. You save $55 today simply by using coupon code EARLY. EARLY. All your other discounts, all your other coupons, etc., are over on the homepage. I'll do this in reverse chronological. Can't even say it today. Hey, fire up that chloroseptic spray. Reverse chronological order. Or actually, maybe that's why I can't talk today, because it just numbs your mouth so much. You can't even feel anything, you know? But let me knock off the college basketball game first, because that one goes at 4 o'clock Eastern time. Then I'll get to the in-depth analysis between Seattle and Minnesota. Now, VCU is a 10-point favorite today in that 4 o'clock Eastern time start. They're coming off an 85-82 win at St. Joseph's on Tuesday night. That's 5 straight wins. 80 points or more in 4 of them. Billikens, meanwhile, coming off a monster upset. They shocked a good George Washington team, a George Washington team that was a 9.5-point road favorite. St. Louis won that game 65-62 a couple of days ago because they scored 12 out of the final 13 points in that game over the final 4 minutes. But listen, the Billikens had lost 5 in a row and 8 of their prior 9 games. One of the keys to success for St. Louis in that George Washington game is that they primarily went for over half of that contest with a small ball 4-guard lineup, and it was very successful. But it should be successful against a team like George Washington, which is more of your traditional team, doesn't really go small, wants to funnel the ball inside, known for being defensive stalwart. That strategy, I don't think, is going to work against VCU today, because what does VCU love to do? They love to force you or pressure you up and down the floor. They like to match you up, and you want to go 4 guards, they'll go 4 guards and play small ball as well. Shaka Smart may be gone, but the style of play, the Havoc defense, hasn't changed for VCU. This is a team that, surprisingly, if I asked you before this report, who leads the Atlantic 10 in offensive rebounding, would you have ever guessed it would be VCU? Hey, those are cheap second-hand points, second-chance points when you get offensive rebounds, and they're averaging over 13 per game. And, of course, they also are number 9 in the country, forcing close to 18 turnovers a game. So I will lay 10 points with VCU, because I also think that the Rams are sitting there, and they look at St. Louis, and maybe before St. Louis upset George Washington, they would have looked at that, hey, this is a gimme game. We can coast, we can cruise, we can get the easy win and move forward. Now, when you look at them and you say, St. Louis knocked off George Washington, we got to be on our best behavior. I think VCU is the play. Okay, let's talk about the Seattle-Minnesota game. When these two met in Minnesota back in, second week in December, you know the deal. Russell Wilson, 21 for 28, 260 yards, 3 touchdown passes in that game. Seahawks ran for 173 yards in that game, and it was kind of a rout, 38-7, Seattle won. Some differences here, obviously. First of all, I don't see the Seahawks running for 170-some yards again, especially since Thomas Rawls, who had 101 yards on 19 carries, is no longer available. They have to turn to Michael, I can't remember his first name, Michael, the former failed second-round draft pick, who came back to the team and actually had a damn good game in Arizona last week, if you remember. 102 yards rushing, I think, on 17 carries. The other thing is, Minnesota, when they played Seattle the first go-round, they were without their 3 best defensive players. 3 best defensive players. Their run-stopping nose tackle, Linval Joseph, their linebacker, Anthony Barr, and their safety, Harrison Smith. And Barr and Smith, at the time, combined, had the most sacks for the Vikings. So that shaky offensive line that Russell Wilson has been forced to play behind all season long really wasn't challenged. But at the same time, Seattle got the job done defensively. I am not a Teddy Bridgewater fan. You know that. I've mentioned it many times. This is a one-dimensional Minnesota Vikings team led by Adrian Peterson. Well, Seattle's defense is not as strong as it has been in previous years, but they absolutely iced Peterson in that first go-round. He only had 18 yards rushing. They sacked Teddy Bridgewater 4 times in that game. The Vikings only had a net of 117 yards in the contest. Now, you know Seattle has been on a red-hot roll offensively. They come into this game having won 6 of their last 7 games. They've scored at least 29 points in each one of the victories. Russell Wilson, my God, what has he done here? Really surprised me. Listen, I like this guy as a quarterback, but what he has done here in the second half of the season has really been stunning. What is it, like 20 forces versus 1 interception in the past 7 games? He has really carried this Seattle offense. What I also like about Seattle here is they had their winning streak snapped 2 weeks ago when St. Louis come down and beat them for the second time this season. They go to Arizona, an Arizona team that wasn't coasting, an Arizona team that had its starters in there, and they just crushed the Cardinals. I know because I had Arizona in the first half of that game last Sunday. They dominated Arizona on the road in that game. I like that mindset that they're bringing into the postseason. I like Seattle here. Yes, I know it's 4.5 points. I would obviously go ahead and buy down the half point in this game. For those geniuses that never liked to play in the Metrodome where it was warm and comfort controlled, well, hey, enjoy sitting out there where the temperature is going to be 1 degree in Minneapolis today. God bless you all. Hope you enjoy your football. I'll be watching on the 60-inch Sony, okay? Bottom line, I think Seattle is the play here. I just am not convinced that Bridgewater can get the job done, although Seattle, I think, is going to struggle to run the ball here. Having Cam Chancellor back fresh after missing the past 3 games, that is only a boon to the Legion of Boom defense. I'm going to go with Seattle as your other complimentary play. So, Seahawks in the NFL, VCU in college basketball. That'll do it. Best of luck to you guys, and we'll do this one more time on Monday. Good luck, everybody.